thrill me.
This show is part of the Thrill Me Podcast Network. Experience more on Facebook and YouTube.
It's Review It Man, reviewing what he can. Movies are his jam, so let's get twisted, man. It's Review It Rob.
Hey, yo, welcome into the show, man. How the heck are you? I hope you're doing great. It's the last time we had our little conversations here, man. Gonna have a fun episode in store for you this week. At least I hope it's fun for you. It's always fun for me to record these things. But I'm gonna be talking Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, the latest film in the Ghostbusters franchise. Gonna give spoiler-free thoughts on that, of course, as well as any kind of news we got going on with mandatory horror and DC news for every single episode. So hope you're buckled in, ready for some fun. Again, on this episode, we did a lot of Ghostbusters talk on the podcast network last week before this episode here. My show that I released last week had nothing to do with Ghostbusters whatsoever, but I did take part in the watch along that we did for our Patreons. If you are a Patreon member, please join into that, support us, and have fun with us, man. We do watch alongs for movies. We get all kinds of fun content over there. But yeah, we had Core Memory Unlocked episodes for both Ghostbusters. There's a Core Memory Unlocked for the cartoon Ghostbusters show, the first time I've ever seen that. And just there was the event for the premiere for Ghostbusters, all kinds of fun stuff last week. Ghostbusters leading in to this episode, of course, as I tell myself in my brain, because I am the main star here, obviously not. But like I said, I'm off the rails already. We live off the rails over here on the Review It Rob show, so we're all the main stars of the network, baby. We take care of each other, and we have a good time. So all that Ghostbusters stuff last week, hope you watched it. If not, hit the like, subscribe on the network, on the YouTube. Watch all that fun stuff over there. And we're going to jump in to this review right here, right now, with Ghostbusters Frozen Empire being rated PG-13 for suggestive references, language, and supernatural action of violence. What a combo of words there. Supernatural action violence. That sounds like either like a wrestling faction name or like a wrestling finishing move. Oh no, he just hit him with a supernatural action violence. You know what I'm saying? The SAV? Yeah, SAV. Alright, anyways. It's a comedy fantasy movie running in at 1 hour and 55 minutes and is currently only in theaters. In Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, the Spangler family has relocated to the New York City firehouse, very famous to the Ghostbusters franchise, that firehouse, and they are there to team up with the original Ghostbusters, who've developed a top-secret research lab to take busting ghosts to the next level. But when the discovery of an ancient artifact unleashes an evil force, the Ghostbusters, new and old, must join forces to protect their home and save the world from a second ice age. Rotten Tomatoes critics have it at a 43%, while the audience score is running in at an 84%, almost 40% higher there. IMDb has it at a 6.6 out of 10. I give you those numbers because we all have a wide-ranging thoughts on movies, and it's okay to have a different opinion than others. So, what were my thoughts on the film? Felt like a ghost of a freaking pirate just, engulfed in my body just then when I was talking. Anyways, so Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. We did, like I said, we did all the Ghostbusters stuff last week, and those guys over there at Haunters are the big-time Ghostbusters fan. I appreciate the franchise. I am not as hardcore on the franchise where I know all the lines of the movies and all that stuff, but I'm familiar with the films at least enough, and I absolutely loved the Halloween Horror Nights house at 2019, so HHN 29. Had a fantastic blast of a time with that house. Still one of the few houses that's gotten me to jump with a scare in the house with the library ghost. So I love the franchise. I do. Don't get me wrong. I haven't, buckled in to the franchise to know everything about it, but I do love and especially appreciate the franchise, all the films in that franchise I have enjoyed. So with this movie coming, especially after Afterlife, and honestly doing that watch along recently with Afterlife was a good fun too, just to establish myself with that film and get used to our new characters, because they're the main focus now, right? Paul Rudd and the surviving Spangler family, so the daughter of Egon and her kids, right? Played by McKenna Grace and Finn Wolfhard. So it's good to get reacquainted with them before going into this movie, because this movie does focus mostly on them. This is about their their story moving in to New York, which is they don't take a whole lot. They're already there in the movie, so not a whole like moving scene or anything like that. But we're focused mostly on them and mostly on McKenna's character, who is, of course, the youngest of the Ghostbusters team and the focus of the team. Going forward, Finn's not in the movie all that much. If I remember correctly, I saw this movie a while ago and saw another movie, which I'll be reviewing later this week as well. But I felt like Finn wasn't in the movie all that much. He was in there. I don't know if Stranger Things casting or shooting was going on around the same time as the shooting of this movie or what, or he was on a tight schedule. He's in there a good amount, but not as much as he was the last movie, if that makes sense. At least to me. Maybe it does. I don't know. But it's mostly McKenna's character and her growing through being a teenager. She's a teenager. I think they said she's 15 in the film. Real life, I don't know what her age is. I don't think she's 18 though. So, we're not going to overly talk about her acting, which you should never judge a child actor for any means. But what I will say, we already know McKenna's a fantastic actress, so we're not going to overly judge her anyways. But we're not going to overly talk about that. So I liked I liked the movie. I enjoyed it very very much. I think it fits very well in the Ghostbusters lore of things and the fantasy comedy elements. Smart comedy, good comedy, like that old school kind of. It fits the 80s, a little more to this time period, I guess you can say, but not overly doing it. But because there's things you would do in that 80s movie you wouldn't do this time around, but it doesn't hurt anything this time around, especially when we have Bill Murray show up and all that stuff, because we know Bill Murray's character, very, very full of himself, if you will. Toned down some in Ghostbusters 2, and since then, kind of the fun character that he's always been. We've got it's like Afterlife. We have the three surviving Ghostbuster core team members, and then we have four. Andy Potts is in the movie as well, so we have four of the surviving team members back in this for this movie, and they're great. You love seeing them anytime. I swear, anytime. I loved it when Bill Murray showed up. Don't get me wrong, and I loved it when Ernie showed up. But man, anytime freaking Dan Aykroyd showed up on screen, I got like super excited. I'm like, yes! Did not realize I was a huge Dan Aykroyd fan, but I realized it while I watched this movie, and it makes sense because like the first thing I had to do anything with any cast member of the Ghostbusters was Dan Aykroyd. Like the first time I ever saw Dan Aykroyd was in My Girl, the movie My Girl. Fantastic film if you haven't seen it. Subsequently, first film I saw Jamie Lee Curtis in as well. And I've just always been a Dan Aykroyd fan from there. And then, of course, he did the Ghostbusters cameo in Casper, one of my all-time favorite films as well. So, big film for me growing up. So, I've always liked Dan Aykroyd. Like, I've always felt, cool with Dan Aykroyd. I've always liked him, of course, Blues Brothers when I've got older and watched that and everything. And just anything Dan Aykroyd is in has always just been like, freaking Dan's the man, right? And so anytime he was on screen is cool. Talking too much about the cast. Let's talk about the movie here. Of course, Paul Rudd's in the movie, and he's always fantastically awesome, right? So the movie, I like what they did. I like the idea. They have. Of course, I got to talk around myself to not spoil anything here. So, as synopsis said here, an ancient artifact unleashes an evil force in this film. Is the main bad, and if you've seen the trailer, you know the main bad is a freaking ice beast, if you will, that is going to freeze the world, killed by the cold, all that stuff, man. Frozen to death, right? So cool character, cool idea. The main bad in the film looks really freaking awesome, and of course the snow powers and the frost powers are always a good thing. So that was a cool aspect to see in there because it feels dangerous and it feels scary, and it feels like, how do you beat this, right? We've seen them against other kind of ghosts and all that stuff. We've seen their weapons work very well, but what are we going to do against this character? We've got our weapons, man, but how is it going to hold up against this character that could freeze things, right? So it was cool to see all that stuff. It's cool to see how those played out. Speaking of the gadgets and the tech, they've had some new tech to my eyes in this film that kind of reminded me of the 2016 tech. At least one of them did. And like they talked about universes and all that stuff, and I'm like, oh snap, are we gonna get the 2016 Ghostbusters to pop in here? At least give me Kate Middleton. Kate Middleton, good lord. Wow, Kate Middleton on the mind. Of course, that was all the kinds of news. Hope the best for Kate Middleton, of course. Kate McKinnon. It's close. It happens. They KM. in the Mac in there. But I liked her character a lot in the 2016 film, so it would be cool to see her back in some way, shape, or form. But I like the tech in this movie, and I like the sciencey stuff that happens in the film, and I like the lore and the mystery and the going back in time of things. They don't time travel in the movie by any means. That's not a spoiler, but like the ancient artifact and researching the artifact and trying to figure out what it is throughout the movie, and then of course things going as they do with a scary mystery fantasy kind of movie deal. So I liked everything they put together in the film. I had a fantastic time watching the movie from start to finish. Is there parts that maybe run a little bit long? Meh, maybe, but that's not anything that killed the movie for me. I liked that. I liked the story building. I liked the character building with McKenna's character to help her grow because obviously whatever the Ghostbusters is going to be in the future, she is going to be a big part of that, and at least you would think, especially if they continue on this storyline, she's going to be the main, part of that storyline. So, Finn, again, Finn wasn't in the movie that much, so we'll see what happens with Finn. But, and then of course your key members of the Ghostbusters back in the day. Now, is it a nostalgia grab? No, I don't think so. I think there's more nostalgia in Afterlife than there is this, and Afterlife isn't a full-on nostalgia film either. Like they do the core bits to get you feeling the vibes of the original Ghostbusters in Afterlife, but they do enough to make it its own film. And I think this movie does that as well, kind of like Ghostbusters 2 did. It makes itself stand out in a different way. You're gonna get your same vibes. You're gonna get your and this is in the trailer, so you're gonna get your Slimer and stuff like that. You're gonna get those core memories, haha. But you're gonna have it with this new cast and this new storyline and this new building of a new era of Ghostbusters, right? So, I like what they did. I had a lot of fun with the movie. I'm gladly going to watch this movie over and over and over again. Will it work as a Halloween Horror Nights house? Yes, there are parts of this movie that would absolutely work as a Halloween Horror Nights house. Just make sure it is freaking cold. That's all I would have to ask for, and we'll see. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, sometime this week we get some Halloween Horror Nights news that maybe involves Ghostbusters. Maybe it doesn't. Just give me some Horror Nights news, baby. But I like the movie. I like what they did, and I've seen reviews, and they seem like mixed reviews and all that. The film has made more than Afterlife had, so that Afterlife got a sequel. This movie should get a sequel. I don't know what the future is for the Ghostbusters franchise. Dan Aykroyd did say a little teasing in an interview saying, quote, "We like New York, but it's not to say we can't make New York the base and travel somewhere else," end quote. Another quote, "Hey, there are ghosts around the world," end quote. So there's definitely a possibility of doing more Ghostbusters and seeing them travel around the world would be interesting, I guess. But what I do know with this Ghostbusters franchise after all of these films, and again, I've enjoyed every single one of them, is that you know what you're getting. You're going to get some fun comedy. You're going to get some great fantasy elements. You're going to get some spooky spooks as well. There's some terrifying, scary things that happen in these Ghostbusters movies, no matter how much people want to call them comedy films. They do have a very solid base in the the ghost area and making it kind of freaky. And they did it again with this movie, and they just know how to mix the two very well together. So I enjoyed it. I will gladly watch the movie again. It is a fun time. It is just as good as any other Ghostbusters movie, if you ask me. So yes, Frozen Empire is worth your time. Go see it. I had fun with it. It is definitely a good time, man. All right, so going from Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, let's jump into some horror news real quick because it's close enough. Not a lot to really talk about here. We do know now that Lisa Frankenstein is hitting Peacock on March 29th, so that is this week. So get to see that movie again. Loved that movie. Had a great time with that movie. I can easily see that movie making my top 10 of this year. I could see Ghostbusters making my top 10 this year. It is currently in my top 5 of the year so far. I think I've seen like 13 or 14 new movies so far this year. I'm not sure about that number. Maybe higher, maybe lower, but it feels right around 13 or 14. And you know, it's a pretty solid year. We've got a lot of things coming up in the next couple weeks. We got Godzilla versus, Godzilla X Kong this week, whatever. Another Godzilla movie. I'll tell you this, probably not going to live up to -1 that I saw earlier this year, but we'll see what happens when we get there. And next week we got Monkey Man, we've got The First Omen, a lot of horror on the way this year as well. So big bad things going on over there. But Lisa Frankenstein will be hitting Peacock March 29th, so that is this week, depending on when you're listening to this episode. Let's see, Courtney Cox is returning to Scream 7. I think we all knew this already. This is not insanely breaking news by any means. Kind of figured she was in it even before they announced that Nev Campbell was coming back. So Courtney Cox will still be around playing, what's her, Gail Weathers, Gail Winters, Gail Waters, Gail whatever. She's still in Scream, and it's nothing against her, but honestly, she's probably the character that should have been killed off already instead of another character that could be a spoiler, so I'm not saying it. Let's see. And then last bit of news here, David Schwimmer has joined the cast of Goosebumps Season 2. David Schwimmer you probably know from Friends. He's done other things, of course, but it's probably the biggest thing he's known for. Goosebumps Season 2. I'm glad this news came up because I forgot this was the thing. And that's bad on me. I loved the Goosebumps books growing up. I loved the show growing up. I enjoyed the first movie. I don't know if I ever saw the second Goosebumps movie now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe I just have a problem with second versions of things. But at the same time, I still haven't seen Season 1 of Goosebumps. But this is apparently on Disney Plus, it says, which I would assume it would be on Hulu. Maybe that's what they mean, but they didn't. I didn't see Hulu in that article by any means. It said Disney Plus each time, so it's on there. I need to check it out for sure, but for some reason it's escaped my thought process of watching. So, nonetheless, that is some good casting right there. He's a talented actor. So, good casting there. I believe Justin Long is on the show as well. So, we know Justin Long is a Scream king for sure. So, good on him, man. Holy cow. Over in the DC area of the show, it is being reported by Variety that Joker 2, from a source, has been confirmed, or is reporting at least, that Joker 2, that is releasing later this year, will be, quote, mostly a jukebox musical, end quote. It will reportedly include at least 15 new takes on, quote, very well-known songs, end quote, and one or two original songs. Of course, you got Lady Gaga in the film, so maybe she wrote one of those. It is also known that one of the tracks in Joker Folie à Deux is apparently the song That's Entertainment from the Fred Astaire-led 1953 musical film The Bandwagon. And we also learned that the composer of the film, Hildur, that's a name I can't say, Hildur, last name, will, quote, infuse her distinctive haunting music cues, end quote, into the film. So, this has been highly rumored for quite some time that the Joker movie was going to be a musical, or would be somewhat musical in its aspect. Now we're hearing that there's at least 15 new takes in this movie. And again, this hasn't been confirmed by Todd Phillips or James Gunn at this point. So who's to say until we actually see the movie or see a trailer? But at the same time, they've been hiding the fact that movies are musicals and trailers lately for some reason. So I've never had a problem with musical films. I've enjoyed quite a few of them. One of my favorite films of the year is a musical, in Mean Girls. So I'm not worried about the aspect of it being a musical. Some people are like, "How are you going to make a sequel to that first Joker movie and make a musical?" Because you can't. It's okay to step outside of the norm, like step outside of a box, right? And that's what I love about these DC movies, that they kind of do their own thing. And this is not a shot at Marvel, but all the Marvel films are, and right, they're like a universe. And all the Marvel films feel like the same movie for the most part, and they're kind of just copy and pasted a lot of those. There are differences, and a lot of those. There are some Marvel movies that do stand out and are really good, but for the most part, they're kind of copy and paste, same film. While over here on DC, you got this Joker movie, and then the sequel is going to be a musical. And I'm like, cool, man, that's awesome. Let's do that. Let's do some wild, crazy things. Let's make the things stand out and be different from each other. And if we're going to do a universe, and again, this movie's not part of a universe by any means. It's the Joker universe, if you will. But this is in Elseworlds. This is not connected to what James Gunn is building with the DCU. So good on him, man. Make the movie you want to make. Have a fun time with it. You got Lady Gaga, one of the greatest entertainers in the world. So do it. Have fun. We already know what Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix can give us with the first Joker film. They won an Oscar for his performance. So it's weird to me that people get so up in arms over things like this. Like, we haven't seen the movie. We haven't watched it. Why are we judging it already? So who knows? But I I love DC, so I'm there either way, and I'm intrigued by this idea. More so where like people are like, I hate this idea. I'm like, I'm intrigued by this. This is cool. This is different. I like this idea. So we'll have fun there. Let's see. Jake Gyllenhaal was talking about his new film that I think also came out this week, the remake or redo of Roadhouse. Roadhouse. Patrick Swayze jam from back in the day. They did redo that with Jake Gyllenhaal. That's getting mixed reviews as well. Some people say it's absolutely terrible. Some people are like, hey, I had a good time watching it. So he was asked if he was interested in playing Batman recently while doing some press for that Amazon Prime movie. And he said, quote, oh man, that's a classic role. It's an honor. Quote, speaking of playing roles that other incredible actors have played in the past. When I think about it, I'm going to play Ego in Othello, geez, with Denzel Washington, and I think about like the history of the actors that have played that role throughout time, and I'm intimidated by that. So that's the first level. That's what I'm working on right now. But of course, it would be an honor. It would be an honor always. Those types of things and those roles are classics. End quote. So that was him answering the question about playing Batman or if he'd be open to playing Batman. Now, David S. Goyer, who came up with the story for Batman Begins and co-wrote the script with Christopher Nolan, recently confirmed that Gyllenhaal was his personal top pick to play Batman back in Nolan's trilogy. Now, we do know, of course, that Christian Bale played Batman in that trilogy, and Bale was really good in the trilogy, and those films are pretty dang solid. The voice gets a little rough, especially during The Dark Knight Rises, but hey, it's a choice, and it was a choice he made. But those movies I do think are solid films. They are very, very tough, solid Batman films. The idea of Gyllenhaal playing Batman. I like Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't have any kind of problems with him at all. I think he is a really, really, really talented, good actor. Um, I believe, and I don't know. We haven't. They said the Batman movie for the DCU is going to be Batman Brave and the Bold, so we're looking at Batman and Robin. So Batman may be a bit older in this movie. I feel like James Gunn has said something about Batman being older in the film. I believe Gyllenhaal is in his mid-40s, so I think he can pull it off. I think he can pull off that vibe, right? Now, he did play Mysterio in Spider-Man Far From Home. Spider-Man Far From Home, yeah. Um, so I, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Um, there's just so much about the DCU that's unknown at the moment. I don't know where they're fully going with everything, which is also fine. It's insane to me how people are just continue to bash something they haven't seen a single lick of filming for. With the DCU and just seeing people complaining about it already. Like, if Jake Gyllenhaal is Batman for that universe, I'm not gonna hate it. I would have no reason to hate that. I think he's fine. In the perfect world, we would be able to get Robert Pattinson as the Batman for the universe, but I believe I don't know. I don't know the full Brave and the Bold storyline at the moment. So, and again, I don't know what they're making their movie to be. So we'll have to wait and see. But he's open to playing the role. We'll see what ends up happening. I don't know if there's been anything other than just a question that's been asked in a presser for another movie. But we're not against it, man. And then finally, the Penguin teaser trailer dropped since the last time we talked, and what a teaser it was, man. Mentioned it on last week's episode that the Batman got pushed back, unfortunately, so we're not going to be back into that world anytime soon until the Penguin hits. And then this teaser trailer dropped, and I don't know if it was part of, hey guys, it's okay, I know you're upset about the Batman being pushed back, but hey, we still got something coming from that world for you. I don't know if that was the idea of dropping that teaser or what, but man, solid teaser. Gets us reintroduced to Colin Farrell's Penguin, which was always awesome, and it looks like it's going to be a good freaking mobster style show that is just going to hit in the way that it hit with his appearances in the Batman movie, and I am stoked, man. So stoked for that. All right, we're heading into other news here. So while we're on the subject of teaser trailers and trailers dropping, which is also on our network, go check out the trailer reaction for Beetlejuice. That has officially dropped. Just my quick thoughts on that is that I like what they did. I like the way it looks. It looks like a fun time. It looks like they did keep it as practical as the original film as they did, which is something I know they talked about. It does still have that same vibe. It has the same freaking awesomeness that is Michael Keaton. We saw Winona Ryder, we saw Jenna Ortega, we saw Catherine O'Hara back. Um, Quick teaser doesn't give us a whole lot of what the story is, which is fine. I don't need to see a single thing else from that. Like I'm already in, right? I'm already in, locked, synced, ready to go, right? It just looks awesome. I think he's gonna nail it with this, man. Because there's always that worry with sequels, especially after decades later, and you kind of wonder how it's gonna work out. But I think Tim and Michael Keaton had a very good vision of what they wanted to create with this, and judging from that teaser that I saw, they're going to nail it, is my opinion. So go check that out, man. Like I said, we got a trailer reaction on the network right now. If you haven't seen it, go check that out as well. All right, other bits of news here before we close out the show. Jack Black says he is ready for a sequel to School of Rock, but only under one condition. That condition is if the writer of the original film, Mike White, returns to write the film. But, quote, he is a real busy right now with White Lotus, the best show on TV, end quote, Jack Black said. Talking about a sequel decades later. So, School of Rock. Love that movie. Big Jack Black fan. Kind of have some mannerisms like him, I guess, from watching him growing up, because I've been watching Jack Black movies for a long time, man. I love Jack Black. I wish I could be as energetic as Jack Black and fun as Jack Black, man. But I don't know, right? I don't know what that sequel would be. And maybe that's just brain blocking right now, but the whole idea of School of Rock movie was that he became a substitute teacher, taught the kids of the class how to play music and to go win Battle of the Bands. Um, I don't know. I mean, are we catching? I think one of the kids sadly passed away, so we wouldn't have him back in the movie. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the sequel to that would be. I mean, would he? I don't think he would be returning to teach another class, right? And he would want to catch up with the other characters and what the band's up to, if they stayed together, if they did anything. So I guess there's something there, but I don't know of the necessity of it. But if it happens, obviously as a Jack Black fan, I'll see it. Let's see, another movie sequel decades later. Happy Gilmore 2 tour. Happy Gilmore 2. This has been rumored for a while, but Happy Gilmore 2 is being developed by Adam Sandler. According to Shooter McGavin actor Christopher McDaniel, who recently did an interview and said that Adam Sandler has shown him a script for this sequel. Netflix is reported to be the home of the film, which would make sense as Adam Sandler has that relationship with Netflix. That's another movie that I understand the appreciation that people have for it. I've not seen it as many times. That movie, I think, came out close to Billy Madison. It was like that movie and Billy Madison were the beginning of the Adam Sandler movie tour, and Adam Sandler becoming the big comedy star that he is. And I have not seen that movie enough, to be honest with you, but it seems fun. It seems like those two are excited to do it again. I've seen plenty of things about Christopher McDaniel having fun with it, so good on them, man. If they want to have fun and make the movie, go ahead and do it, man. Have your fun and make the sequel. Again, you have Netflix right there wanting to give you money to make the movie. Do it. All right, and last bit of news here. Is this last bit of news? Yep, last bit of news here is that Margot Robbie's production company Lucky Chap will be producing a Sims movie with the director of Loki, Kate Herron, on board, who will co-write the screenplay. There is no release date for it yet. So, at first when I saw this news, I'm like, I thought Margot Robbie said she was taking time off, but from acting, I think is the main thing for her, is that she's taking time off. She's going to produce films, do more background work. I think that she wanted to get into directing and all that. I don't know how that movie works. And to be fair, I've not played Sims. What I've seen like commercials of it. I haven't seen gameplay of it. I haven't seen any actual gameplay of it. I think I've just seen images and commercials for it. And commercial could have had some gameplay in it, so I can't fully say I haven't seen gameplay. But from what I can tell, it's a game that's kind of like, you got to be old like me for this, but it's kind of like Tamahachi, right? The old handheld games where you had to keep your animal alive. Um, that's what Sims gives off the vibe of to me. On a bigger scale, you're like, you gotta take care of your Sim and give them the best life and treat them right, and make sure they don't die. Right? I think that's the idea of The Sims. I couldn't tell you. Um, but yeah, I don't know how that works out. Like, you can make it probably a good, like, thriller film or scary movie, in the sense of those characters have like the floating green diamond thing over their head, so they're under the control of some power or something like that. Like, you can make it like a scary movie for sure, but if we're trying to make it straight up, I don't know, suburban living, like, thriller film, I could see working. Like, what was that freaking Matt Damon movie that came out not too long? Was it Matt Damon? Like Suburban Life or something like that? Maybe something like that. That movie was weird. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how a Sims movie works, but I'm sure you can do something with it. And that's going to do it for this episode. So, yes, recap Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Enjoyable film if you liked all the other Ghostbusters films. I don't know how you could dislike this one. Let's see. Lisa Frankenstein's hitting Peacock March 29th. Courtney Cox is back to screen as expected. Joker 2 seems to be officially a musical with at least 2 new songs and 15 well-known songs in a very different style. Gyllenhaal as Batman. Let me know in the comments what you think of Gyllenhaal possibly becoming the Batman of James Gunn's DCU. The Penguin teaser trailer, if you saw that, let me know your thoughts. The Beetlejuice trailer, that dropped as well. Let me know if your thoughts on that, and let me know if you saw Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Let me know if you enjoyed it. And then School of Rock 2, Happy Gilmore 2. Excited? Are you interested? Let me know. Appreciate you joining in. Listen to the show. As always, I love the fact that y'all listen to the show. I have a fantastic time doing this. This is a fun time for me, as always, and I hope it's a fun time for you listening to it. So appreciate you taking your time to listen to the show. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, week, month, year. And as always, remember that happiness can always be found, even in the darkest of times, if one only remembers to turn on the light. Talk to you all next episode.